What's up, Tamers? This is Regina here to bring you one of the matches from our Digimon locals on Tuesday. This was the second event that we had where EX07 was legal. So, because it was a couple of days after the official set release, everybody was able to at least make a jump for their cards and for their decks. So, this is going to be the first real big tournament I think that we had this at this store where everyone actually was able to play out their EX7 cards. As you can see from your screen, this is going to be a Vortex versus a Heavy Metal match. That's going to be two of the new decks that you're going to be seeing from this set. Vortex probably a little bit more talked about than Heavy Metal. Heavy Metal kind of having a little bit of a reputation right now for being a difficult deck to play just because it's so dependent on your hand size. But that's not going to stop people from playing decks that they'll want to play. So let's get into this match. This is going to be Nick on the left side and Ronald on your right. So, honestly, Vortex, after having played against it a couple times, it is a very powerful mechanic. We're going to see the Fluffymon into the Palmon as Nick's opening move here into a training boost for 2 memory. Going to be start searching up. That looks like a Grand Galemon and a Searcher Terramon. Going to pick up a Grand Galemon. Honestly, that Palmon has been such a pain to play against for a lot of people because it lets you get so much memory back as the Vortex player. We're going to see the Yammon into an Impmon over on Ronald's side. That Impmon is going to be the same as a lot of the rookies from this set, which says that if you were to evolve into a certain archetype, in this case I think the Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon, your reduced evolution cost by 1 is instead going to be going into just a regular scatter mode in the back here. This is going to be the one that was hit a while ago, limited to 1. The On Deletion, draw 3, trash 2, following it up with a Yuki who has who is a 3 cost tamer here. Is going to have the same sort of effect as the 3 cost Shoto, which is start of main phase, gain of memory. We're going to see Nick take advantage of that 3 memory by playing a Searcher Terramon. This Terramon is going to let him pick up both a Vortex Warrior and a Liberator. We actually see another Terramon Searcher and 2 Grand Galemon, so definitely going to pick up a Grand Galemon for sure. Is going to opt to choose and pick up that Terramon Searcher, bottom decking another Grand Galemon. That's the first one we saw him bottom deck. He did bottom deck a Taro. It's just going to pass a turn on 3 memory with that Shoto Kazama that everyone knows about if you've been watching, if keeping an eye on this set. It is going to be that Shoto that at the end of the turn allows you to give a Digimon Blocker Piercer. More importantly, really used a lot in that Shoto Mother deck. So I'm not going to go to 4 memory here though because of that Yuki as well. Start of main phase, if your opponent has a Digimon in play, you're going to gain a memory. And she does have a main phase effect where if you have, I think, 4 or less cards in your hand, you can evo one of your Digimon into an Evil Dragon or Dark Dragon for the memory cost. But instead, actually just going to evo into a Neo Devi from Infernal Ascension. That's from EX6, everyone. So this is Ronald explaining to it because I don't think a lot of us know what this does at the top of our head. It's got an on-play 1 Digivolving, so if your opponent has 5 or fewer in their hand, they delete one of their level 4 or lower. If they have 7 or more, you trash 1 card in their hand. And then it'll have an on deletion. If your opponent has 10 or more cards on their trash, you can play a Dan David from your trash without paying the cost. So, alright, gonna check a level 4 Galemon in there. So, actually didn't see... Oh, yeah, so he has exactly 6, so that's actually really unfortunate. We're gonna see that evo into, it looks like... I want to say that looks like Dan Devimon. Oh my goodness, what is happening here? I thought this was a, Heavy Metal deck, and I guess it's a very weird version of it. This is also from the Infernal Ascension one. So this is an on-play 1 Digivolving. You delete one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon. If this didn't delete, they trash a card in their hand, and then your turn while your opponent has 5 or fewer cards in their hand, this Digimon gains Rush and Security Attack +1. So that Terramon is going to get deleted. That's 1 less problem to worry about on Nick's side of the field. Is going to pass the turn on 3 memory. On 2 memory, actually. Again, thanks to that 4 memory that they got earlier. So Nick here trying to decide if he wants to stay or move up is going to choose to push up the Palmon. So is going to gain the 1 memory from the Shoto. That sort of main phase trigger now from Palmon activating where it's going to tag that Dan Devimon that if it were to become suspended until the end of Ronald's turn, then he'll lose 2 memory. So we're going to see the evolution here into the Galemon for free thanks to that agility training. I think this is actually the one from the starter deck. It looks like because of the foiling, that's the one I'm assuming. So it'll also have a security effect. This is the one that if it gets hit in security, you're allowed to play a level 4 lower Liberator from trash or hand. This will also have, I think, the piercing ability that it has for that, but it's going to go into one of the Grand Galemons. Here is going to be swinging at, it's going to be suspending itself for its 1 Digivolving cost. As you can tell, this is a new mechanic. For a lot of people, you see a lot of reading and like giving up cards to other people to go ahead and do so. Is suspending itself for the effect. It'll make it it'll make itself unaffected by your opponent's effects and gets, I think this is the one that gets the plus DP as well. Players figuring out that because of the Palmon, that the evolution cost was actually one less. So it's going to go into the regular Zephagmon. I think we're still trying to figure out what the title is on this one. But end of turn will now occur for Shoto first. They are going to be able to unsuspend, and now with that effect for Vortex, you do have to swing at a Digimon, so you are able to go ahead and do so. So it's going to be swinging into that Dendevi. It cannot swing into security because there is no redirect for it. And because of the inherent of the Grand Galemon, it is going to be able to unsuspend and will still have that blocking and that piercing. Okay, so Security Act 2, so that is most likely going to be, I want to say, the one from the starter deck. I'd have to double check there, but just an Impmon and a level 4 it looks like, so just rips through that security super easily. It's honestly not terrible to rip through security when you've got like a billion plus tier DP, right? So honestly, not a terrible like turn for Nick. Was able to do a lot with the with the agility training. Now Ronald's gonna have to sort of build back up here because he's lost that level 6 almost immediately. Okay, so it is actually the SR from the set that is that Savage. So Ronald going into a level 4 and actually displaying his own Shoto. No start of turn memory gain here start of main phase memory gain here, and Nick just choosing to Evo in the back is going to go for 2 checks still, just because that security effect is just inherently what it is. Crimson Blaze won't do anything here, not really necessary against this deck because they don't really play by effects. Honestly, it's probably just going to be a really tough spot for Ronald. Nick choosing to play out another Digimon here, this time giving the, playing another Searcher is going to find the 4-drop Shoto Kazama, but is going to hit into a memory boost and to a training boost. So end of turn, because he's at 1 memory, is going to use the Shoto to suspend it, give the Zephagmon the blocker and piercing, is going to unsuspend but won't be able to Vortex because there is no Digimon to attack into, unfortunately. Ronald going to go to 3 memory this turn because he has both the Yuki and the Shoto Kazama available to him, giving him that +1 for each one. Now we're just going to go up the line. So this is going to be, I think, a really rough turn for Ronald, because if he's not able to clear the board here, he's going to have to worry a lot about what's going to happen with Nick's Digimon, right? The scariest thing you can do against a Vortex player is leave them a Digimon to suspend and be able to unsuspend. We're going to see the Heavymetaldramon, which, again, this is one of those decks which I think a lot of people were super excited about, and then we realized it's really tough to meet a lot of the requirements on here. Is able to go ahead and delete the level 6 though, is able to save himself for a turn. That Heavymetaldramon, when Digivolving effect, is able to trash 2 cards in your hand, and then you delete an opponent's Digimon with much or less DP as that Digimon. So he also has an end of turn effect. He can play 1 card with the Evil Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait and a play cost of 8 or less from their trash without paying the cost. But for each card in his hand, he reduces 1 from this effect's play cost maximum. So he's also going to be suspending the Shoto, actually giving the blocker and the piercing and all that to the Eismon, which is super smart because then you're guaranteed to get the on deletion against higher level Digimon. I really, really love that. I think that's super great. Yeah. So as you can see, he could do it for 8 and 7/6. So he could have played a 6 cost because 5 cost actually. So he had the Shoto in his hand still. So that's at 3 cards. Sorry, the glare and these card sleeves make it a little bit difficult. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yes, it was a 4 cost that he could play. So actually Nick opting to stay in the back is probably going to try to rebuild again. Doesn't really want to have his things be deleted by anyone Digivolving or on play effects from the purple and red aspect of this Digimon. But just kidding. Just hard slamming the Gale-Dramon here. Vortex is able to, you could technically get rushed, but instead he's choosing to just go ahead and give it blocker. Doesn't want to give Ronald more cards and card selection in his hand with that on deletion effect. Ronald going into a Demi-Devimon as his rookie back here. This is going to be an on-play Demi-Devimon, so not really super relevant in the back right now, but if we were to hard play it. So really thinking about what he wants to do here. you know, there is a blocker. I think it's really scary to leave a level 5 like that on the field, because if you do something like that, right, then you're in a spot where you can just go into the Grand Gamma and just honestly almost clear board and just kind of swing for game if you can bring it back. Oh my god. Okay, so we're gonna see a Ravemon burst mode. When digivolving, he's allowed to look at his opponent's hand and trash a card in there. So we're gonna see a Palmon. There's 2 level 6s, 2 Shoto still. He's really just taking, oh no, sorry, that is, yeah, so that's two level 6s in there. So Ronald able to at least try to disrupt his opponent's hand. I think Nick here is also explaining to him what each one of these Vegmons do. But now if you're Ronald, you at least know for sure, hey, that was that 6 to worry about, and that's generally so. Okay, so then the Ravemon secondary effect is based on the amount of cards you have in your hand, you add the top card of your security to your hand. That's really spicy. I love that. That Ravemon burst mode is very fun here. He's actually going to be giving the blocker into that burst mode. So because he did not actually burst, he does not lose it at the end of turn. So now he knows for sure that there is going to be that that Zafagmon that Nick has in his hand. You know for sure he's going to start at 2 memory because Ronald has 2 Digimon on the field, so he's going to get 1 memory from the Shoto. But you're in a really awkward spot where like you have to be able to get enough of a DP boost to get over that Ravemon burst mode. And if you don't have the Sphagmon that gives you that that extra DP, you're in a really rough spot because you don't have protection, you don't have the DP boost, you won't have the Digimon because that 15k body is so much larger than yours, right? And there's not really a way to give you that boost here. So I think Nick really is gonna have to think about like his options and deciding if he wants to push up or not, because he should be getting the 2 memory. I think right now you're just in that process of what can your opponent do, because it looks like right now Nick is only at 3 security left. So if Ronald had somehow like either played something or had done anything to get another body on the field, he might have been able to like be a little bit more of that and force Nick to promote here. So I think Nick just really sort of assessing his options and trying to figure out how can he clear the board, if he can, and if he can push for game here, right? Because technically you have 2 swings. The issue becomes again that 15k blocker that is given blocker thanks to that Shoto. And I think that's what makes Shoto so strong for a lot of people, is that you can give anything blocker. Anything. You just get the unsuspend if it's a Vortex warrior, right? Okay, yeah, there you go. So Ronald catching that because they are doing the main phase trigger, that he does get that 1 more memory. We are going into another Sphagmon. This is one of the ones that Ronald definitely knew about. He saw it in the hand, that burst mode, just honestly being like, hey, let me see what you've got. Let me go ahead and disrupt your game plan for even just a little bit. So is going to choose to suspend the blocker here, is at least able to do that much. And unfortunately, though, just the one Zafagmon, you know, isn't going to be able to really go for like the game here. The Vortex here is going to be able to at least let him unsuspend. I think now he gets that DP boost, so he should only be at 13. Oh man, there's a lot going on here for some of these ones, guys. Sorry, again, new set, so it's a little bit crazy for everybody involved. But we do see the burst mode leaving the battlefield. It is looking to be like okay, so so one Digimon, one attacking, they suspend an opponent's Digimon, and then if it's suspended his own Digimon, he can return one of his opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of the deck. Okay, so that's how we're doing that. Okay, cool. Yeah, so honestly, the worst part about that card is actually it's not a once per turn, so you can do both at the same time. So one Digivolving, he suspends the Brave Burst mode, and then he attacks. He suspends. He uses the Vortex to unsuspend him. It's interesting. Okay, it's weird. Man, this deck is wild. Okay, honestly, I'm gonna go back and like reread this deck because I've been wanting to build Vortex, but it's just in a little bit of a weird spot. So still 3 security for Nick here. Yikes. Yeah, so Ronald's kind of a tough spot. He wants this Icemon to die, and honestly, oh gosh, it actually is able to die in security, in like a security battle. So it draws 3, trash 2. Those of you who know and have remembered Icemon know that it's so rare sometimes for that thing to die in security. It's got built-in jamming. But the nice thing about Eismon is the reason why it was so limited is because it gives you a lot of really good card selection. Oh, there's an Ignitemon that he's just trashing too. Honestly, this deck seems less like Heavymetaldramon and just seems more like Dark Dragon purple stuff. If I'm being honest. Got to see it like once, right? So it's gonna evolve here into the new Eismon, which can still count for the old Eismon in trash still. So this one I think actually has an on-play effect as opposed to any sort of one digivolving effect. But I think Ronald just sort of climbing for the ranks here because, again, he is there's lethal on Nick's side of the field unless he gets rid of this level 6 again, and he's been able to do a really good job of it. Unfortunately, isn't going to be able to activate the Yuki main effect just because he has too many cards in hand currently. He only has 2 memory, and there's not a lot that he can really do there because either you play a 3-cost searcher, you play anything in that either like searches and adds back to your hand or passes the turn. And I think that's the hard part about this deck is that there's no real way to like hand destruction yourself, which means we're not really like getting rid of cards for the most part, we're just replacing them. But that's going to be another Devimon. He's going to be doing the show to end of turn, giving it to his own Devimon because it does have an on deletion skill. So I think that on deletion skill either lets him draw a card or they like your opponent trashes a card. Purple's really good at like hand disrupting your opponent, not so much yourself. Nick is gonna go to 2 memory because of that Shoto that Shoto sort of main phase. And honestly he's just in a really good spot here. Is gonna be evoing into that Galemon from the set with the new borders from EX7. Is gonna be choosing to use that effect. If you have 1 or less Shotos, you can go ahead and play one out for free. This is the 4-cost Shoto from the starter deck. This is the combination that's actually genuinely deadly for Vortex, is because you are able to redirect the Vortex swing into a Digimon. So is gonna suspend the Devimon, is gonna go ahead and redirect, and then is now able to so he swings, suspends the Devimon so there's no blocker, hits the security, and then swings for game there. So honestly, Vortex feels like such a rough matchup in some cases. I think Ronald actually did a really good job that game 1, right? You're doing your best here to try and sort of outpace a deck that is very good at being resilient and is very good at being set up. And all it really needs is you can hard slam a 5. If they can't do anything about it, then you're golden for that next turn. But I think Ronald did a really good job trying to mitigate as much of the damage that he could. He was able to get rid of a couple of the Digimon that were on the field, so Nick didn't have as much aggression as I think he would have liked to keep going with. The thing about searchers, though, I think especially the Vortex deck, is that even if your searcher gets deleted, right, it already did its job. As long as you have a Digimon in the back, you're able to just kind of pop off, right? Like, that Palmon never really did anything, but if it had been, it cost reduced the evolution, right? And there was no memory tamer on Ronald's side of the field, so he was sort of at the mercy of whatever memory Nick wanted to, like, leave him at. And we did see that 4-drop Shoto at the end. But the nice thing about memory tamers, and I'll advocate for them, is it makes it harder for your opponent to make as much efficient plays as they want to, right? Because memory choking is easier to do than it is to be memory efficient once they have a memory tamer. That's the hard part, especially early game. So I think honestly, like, being able to manage the board was really impressive. The hard part about it is that Vortex seems very resilient in the face of all of that, right? So players are now choosing to resolve the Mulligans. Nick I think he saw that hand and went, absolutely not. Ronald making the choice after a little bit to go ahead and Mulligan as well. And in this sort of matchup, I think, because I don't know the heavy metal deck as well as I've looked at the Vortex stuff, in some cases I feel like it doesn't even matter if you want to go if like you go first or second with Vortex, because the thing with Vortex is you can either evo into a Ricky and then hard play your searcher, and then you start going, or you like start building up a line, get your Shotos down, get your searchers down, get your trading boost down. Either way, you can make a lot of use out of it, right? Giving your opponent 3 memory, like maybe in the mirror match is a little bit tougher to choose who wants to go first or second, because I think at that point it then becomes who has a Digimon still out on the field for their own Digimon to go ahead and go against. But it becomes a matter of who can find their pieces first, and some decks are more well equipped than others to go ahead and do that, right? So they've now finished resolving the mulligans. It looks like Nick is going to be the one going first. Ronald, who's chosen for him to go first. Same opening that we saw in game one, going to be that Palmon, and this time actually going to be another trading boost. This is going to be the one from the starter deck. Does find a memory boost, and looks like a Groundmon from the set is actually going to bottom deck the training boost. So it's going to go opt for the level 4 instead. The Youngmon being hatched here on Ronald's side, at least we had a rookie in that Mulligan, is going to go into that Impmon again as well. Again, that Impmon is the one that reduces if you're evoing into a Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon. And actually going to be playing a missed memory boost. So you mill 2, draw 1. I think that was okay, so that's one of your level 6s, and it looks like a level 4, I want to say. Oh man, he's covering that up so nicely. Nick choosing to stay in the back is going to pick up a Shoto off of another training boost here. Going to put Ronald over at 1. So a little bit of a rough spot, I think, here for Ronald, because I don't know if you want to pop that boost yet, but players both doing a really good job of memory choking, just looking for stuff here. Can't pick up that Crimson Blaze off the Wisdom training, but at least is able to pick up the Impmon because it does have purple in its dual colors there. So this is very, very scary of a setup. Nick is just playing a memory boost here. We saw him bottom deck one earlier. Is going to be picking up a Digimon, so at least if you're Ronald, you don't have to worry about hidden potential discovered, which is such a game changer for game decks. I think the scariest thing about this right now, and if I was Ronald, I'd be very nervous, is that is a lot of setup that you're seeing on Nick's side. That if you leave a Digimon out on the field for him to be able to suspend, that is an explosive turn that he can have. I think Ronald's recognizing that he does just choose to go to evolve into the Loudmon in the back. He's going to just be like, you know what, don't really want to deal with that yet because I'm not completely set up. But gonna have to figure out how to follow that up with anything here, because from the looks of his hand, it's all Digimon right now, and that is really, really rough. He's going to choose to give Nick 4 memory, is going to use the Eismon on play to pitch a Digimon card to actually return one back to hand. It's going to pick up the level 6. And oh man, that is going to be so rough. Sorry, so he's pitching, so he's actually choosing to pitch a different Eismon, and he's going to be able to play it out. So actually, I'm wondering now if he is actually able to pick up the I actually don't know if he's going to be able to pick up now because he's choosing to pitch that. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, that's okay. So so they are actually discussing how the Eismon here will resolve, and I can actually genuinely like the Eismon interactions are very, very interesting. So it's looking here that because of the way the Eismon works, okay, so I'm assuming that because it's an if-then, but we are seeing another search here. That is the Vortex, that is the Digimon Liberator card that Nick is playing. So he's playing a Shoto into a Digimon Liberator. I was not expecting to see that as an option card here. So it lets you look at the top 3 and you add a card with Liberator trait, and then you return the rest to the bottom, and then you can play a card with Liberator or play cost 3 or less without paying the cost. So it gives you search and it gives you a free body on the field. But is going to pass the turn on 2, is going to give his Terramon Terramon actually doesn't have access to Vortex, so is going to at least be able to be blocker and piercer if it really needed that. But Ronald choosing to stay in the back is gonna hope this Eismon dies. Yep, and it does at least perish in that battle, so he doesn't really have to worry as much about the extra memory gain from the Shoto if he's able to at least keep the memory from being anything too crazy on this side. Again, it looks like the only really thing he has in his hands right now are Digimon and that 1 Crimson Blaze, which would be for a play cost of 5. It's a really rough spot to be in right now. Is going to evo into that Neo Devi from EX6 that we saw last game. Is going to put Nick just at 1. Nick technically does have access to a little bit more memory because he has a training boost and he has the memory boost. He's going to have 2 Digimon. There's only 4 security, but I don't think there's really quite any way for him to be able to tear through all that security and hit for game. Is still choosing to stay in the back with that Palmon. Is going to evo into this Grand Gale for 1. Into this regular Galemon for 1, because that Terramon is the one that says if you were to evolve into into that avian type, you reduce it by 1. Calling from Darkness is going to be the security check here, so it's going to just go straight to Ronald's hand. So honestly, like, not super punished for being able to swing into that, which is not something you want to see if you're Ronald. And we see the Shoto combination here. So that's that 4-cost memory tamer for Shoto. I think Ronald's realizing he's gotta do this because he's in a really, really tough position. He technically has access to at least 2 more memory, 3 more memory really. If he's trying to like Evo and things like that, he's got that Miss Memory boost still. He has the wisdom training, is going to choose to pop that wisdom training and choose to use that delay to reduce this evolution cost by 2. And for most level 6s, that means it's still just going to be a 1-cost evolution. So it's going to go, oh gosh, 4. So he's evolving for 2, it looks like. Oh my gosh, I guess sorry, this is me realizing Heavymetaldramon is a 4-cost evolution. That's insane to me. So that's a little rough still. At least is able to delete the level 4, so a little bit less worrisome. But that Palmon is still alive and kicking in the back. Is able to at least go for that security check. And then I guess I'm trying to figure out what they are discussing right now. That is like my thing here. So let us figure out. So yeah, honestly, hey, at least is able to survive the check there. So he trashed the 2 cards in there. Oh gosh, he had to pay 5 for it because he doesn't have an evil dark dragon underneath it. Okay, there we go. I was trying to figure out the memory gain on there. He's gonna pop the memory boost. He's gonna play the Impmon that is from this set. It's gonna be that dual one. It's going to evo into another scatter mode here. Is going to be that 2-cost one. No tamers, no memory boost. Ronald's in a really, really rough spot here. I know Nick only has like that 1 Digimon in the back and whatnot, right? But the thing is, this is in a very, very difficult position here for Ronald. There's the 2 trainings and the memory boost still that Nick still has access to. And Nick's deciding, yeah, this is the time to go ahead and push out. Is going to get 1 extra memory off of the Shoto thanks to that start of main phase. He's going to tag the Eismon as the Digimon that says, if this becomes suspended until the end of your opponent's turn, it's going to go ahead and lose 2 memory. And there we are, that Palmon X antibody, when digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Going to gain 2 extra memory for a free evolution, might I add. And those Palmons are actually really funny because the Palmon SR is going to be the one that says you reduce the cost of evolution if you have Green Tamer in play, and the Palmon X antibody gives you a memory when you play a Tamer. So we're gonna see another Galemon. This time I think this is the same one as the one Digimon. You have 1 or less, you can play a Shoto, but obviously because there's 2 Shotos on the field, he can't play the Shoto out for free, which would have been bonkers with that Palmon X antibody. It's gonna go instead into that Grand Galemon for that Evo cost of 2. The hard part about this deck is like you want to make sure you do memory in a way where you can probably like choke your opponent at memory and still give yourself like enough of a way to like activate Vortex without it being like enough to give your opponent more things, right? So it's going to choose to suspend itself on this turn, and it looks like that suspending itself is going to go ahead and allow it to evo into Zephagemon, and the Zephagemon is going to at least he's going to choose to activate the end of turn effect to go ahead and unsuspend it. When unsuspending will give it that boost, which gives it that extra I think it gives it that extra like DP and can't be affected, and then is going to be able to unsuspend again because of the Grand Galemon Inherit. And I think oh yeah, and this, the one attacking is able to bottom deck something too. So just a lot of board clearing on here. It was swinging into the scatter mode still. Is going to be gaining 2 memory because of the on deletion effect inherits. Honestly, this is so much to keep track of. I don't pity Vortex players because this is a lot for you guys to think about, and this is a lot for you all to like really keep track of. It's going to be 2 checks here. The training's not super helpful here, and honestly it's about a turn too late, but honestly with just like that one evolution is able to clear the turn, is able to technically go for Vortex again, could have technically, oh no, but you need a Digimon for the Vortex, so yeah, he now realizing too that there is a memory inherit off of the evolution cost as well. Please, Vortex players, remember about your Palmon inherits. Ronald's is in a really tough spot here. As long as he doesn't play a Digimon down, I think he's still okay, because the Vortex, actually, yeah, as long as he doesn't play a Digimon here, he's fine, because Vortex does need a target to be able to like swing at, and with the 4-cost Shoto Tamer, he's able to at least redirect it into security for like a final hit if he so needs to. Yeah, Ronald also realizing that just going to go straight into the level 5 in the back. Nick is going to be at least able to get a couple more checks on here. As long as there's no like security effect Digimon, then he should be okay. But remember, even if you think that you have game, you should always evolve in the back just in case, because you never know what's going to happen. We're going to see the check here. It's going to be those 2 checks. Oof. That's a double rookie check on there, but it's going to be that 2 checks. So, honestly, not in a super crazy spot here, but that Terramon is going to be able to search. Isn't going to be able to pick up the Palmon, unfortunately, because the Palmon does not fit any of the requirements for the Terramon. And I think that Brief Pause was also double checking to make sure that both of those cards have the traits for Digimon Liberator and for Vortex Warrior. Yeah, this is like such a weird set where like everything has traits now for options. Double training boost, so really the only thing you can pick up is that starter Galemon, and I don't think you're honestly in like a really tough spot here. Just, you've got 2 blockers, you've got 4 Digimon coming out on the field, and Ronald has like a dream. I don't know that it's possible to go ahead and actually maybe. Yeah, no, it's still a really rough spot, right? Like, you can't get rid of the Grand Galemon, or so you can't get rid of this Vegemon. Like, even if you had the Crimson Blaze, right? The Crimson Blaze would, like, delete things on the board. Can't play by effect, not that you do with this green deck. This is the wrong green deck to be playing things by effect. But even then, you pass the turn, and even if you evolve, if you go into a level 6, you might be able to. No, you still evolve for 4 on top of it, even if you're a Dark Dragon, Evil Dragon. They really gave the Yuki deck like the short end of the stick for this one, huh? They gave you guys high cost evolution cards, and they gave you guys like a really difficult hand size to get into. And I think Ronald is kind of realizing this. And the unfortunate part is like Vortex can kind of do it all, right? Like, even if you have a blocker on the attack, you can just suspend the blocker and then redirect an attack for game. I see that Ravemon burst mode, and I would love to see it again, but I don't think we're going to be able to see it this game, because there are currently 3 Digimon on the field with another one coming out from Raising, and Ronald has no Tamers. There is barely a level 5 on there. There's 1 Wisdom training. My man's got like nothing but like a dream right now, and it's just, it's rough out there, right? I forgot to update that score on there. Yeah, he's able to go at least into, it looks like that Dan Devi to try to do something is technically putting Nick at 2. He does have a memory tamer. Has to make a decision now, because I think he's got like an end of turn effect, but let me just double check to see this. It's a little rough, right? Yeah, so it looks like the one Digivolving, delete, if this effect delete, they trash. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't look like there's much else that Ronald can really do here. Yeah, it deleted the Terramon, but yeah, he still at 0 memory, is choosing to swing, and has an inherited effect here with that Loudmon and the line and the Punkmon and stuff like that, is able to at least make it through that first check, right? So it is currently going to be at like I think 13 DP because of the Punkmon inherit, and then the Loudmon inherit also gives it something else, which is if you have 4 fewer cards in your hand, then all of your Digimon with Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon gets a Connect +1. We're going to see another burst mode. I think this one's just for the fun of it. He just wants to see what's in his hand and just be like, hey, let me just take a look and see what's going on. Is that Ground Fang? No. Oh no, it's just the option cost. It's just the option from for this one. Okay. Yeah. Honestly, not much that he can really do. And I do appreciate that Nick at least goes through the procedure still, knows what he's going to end up going to for the Digimon effects, which honestly is just, you should anyway. And just gonna bottom deck it. There's another Shoto down there. Yeah, it was just a little bit difficult to come back from that, right? I think the early game setup is what really helps here for Nick, and they were playing just sort of a back and forth like volley between setting up, but God, Vortex is scary, you all. Like, Vortex is not something to take lightly. Vortex is one of those, it feels like Bluefair in a lot of ways, where you cannot leave a Digimon on the field against your opponent, because that is everything that they need to really just make your day miserable. But hey, you know what? So spoiler alert, I did play against Ronald in later rounds with that Heavymetaldramon deck, and when he burst mode me, I went, what? So that deck actually can be kind of scary. It's really hand disrupty, and it's really stressful to play against. So it was actually just, I think, a way better showing than most people would expect against Vortex, right? Because if Vortex doesn't have that protection, you can go ahead and delete it, and you don't have to worry about trying to swing into it because they'll unsuspend themselves. But if you can just delete it by effects, you're totally fine, so long as they're not protected by that by one of those Grand Galemons. But I will see you guys all next time. Thank you. Please go ahead and leave back any feedback. I know I missed a lot of the Digimon effects. It's been a busy couple of days with everything going on card-wise at the place that I work at. So I didn't get to study the set as much as I would like, but I am very excited to see where EX07 continues to take us all. So have a wonderful evening.